Hey, you're watching Love a Film, and today we have a guest from Red Dead Redemption 2. Our Rockstar Game fans, you'll be very happy to hear that we have Michael Mellamphy, who goes by Mick. You'll recognize him as Sean Maguire from Red Dead Redemption 2, and I just spoke to him there, doing the intro now, and I'm on an absolute high from talking to Mick. You know, we're both Irish. If you're not from Ireland, you might find some of our pronunciations hard to understand. I always get made fun of in the comments for saying tree, and I see an actual emoji of a tree, and I feel like this might become the new meme of the page. But in Ireland, a lot of the time we don't pronounce our THs. But anyway, I had a great time talking to Mick. You're about to see it right now. We talk about Red Dead Redemption 2 and Red Dead Redemption 3. We talk about working in Rockstar Games with Roger Clark, Benjamin Byron Davis, Rob Weedoff, Alex McKenna, and more. And as a Red Dead 2 fan, you'll hear me say to Mick, I've played that game to death, I think from beginning to end 4 or 5 times, you know. And if you're a fan of Love a Film, you know, you've seen we've interviewed Roger already, we've interviewed Benjamin Byron Davis, Alex McKenna. So adding to the train of Red Dead Redemption guests, we have Michael Mellamphy, Sean Maguire himself, who says he's from Donegal in the game, and anyone from Ireland knows that that is not a Donegal accent. Donegal is very, very different. It's like saying somebody from New York has an Alabama accent. But anyway, you'll hear about this in the interview. Without further ado, let's get into it.
Hello, how's it going?
Ah, there he is. There he is. Michael Mellamphy.
Hey,
How are you?
happy days.
Thanks for
Good.
that.
How's it going?
Not too bad. Thanks for coming on to Love and Film. It's good to meet you.
You too, man. Thanks for seeing me so late at night. What is it, 9 o'clock?
Let's have a look. 9 on the dot. Spot on.
9
You're
on the
Irish
dot.
yourself, obviously. I can tell by your voice.
I am, yeah. I was born in Dublin, grew up in Cork, so kind
Right,
of
so
got a
look-
hard time growing up. I was either a Jack Keen or a redneck, one or the other, or close to you know.
Yeah, so the endless debate of what's the capital, you probably don't even have an answer.
Depends where I find myself. Depends who I'm talking to, you know. And I'm kind of contrary, so if it's someone from Dublin, then it's Cork, and if it's someone from Cork, it's Dublin, you know.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I read as well that you moved to New York at some point in your life as well, and that's where you got into acting. So is that where you live now?
It is, yeah. I actually live in Manhattan here in New York City. I came over here about, jeez, it'll be 26 years ago next May, believe it or not.
Wow.
Yeah, came over to visit a friend who was living in Queens. I used to work in a pub in Temple Bar. And then when I was in drama school, I just came over for a summer just to check it out, like lots of other people.
Sorry to interrupt your story, but just out of
Yeah.
morbid curiosity, back then in Temple Bar, how much was a pint of Guinness?
Oh, I would say it was probably around £3.
No
just
way.
For 40 euro.
Do you know how
Yeah,
much it
but-
is now?
Oh, yeah, I was there a few weeks ago.
Like that is, I'd
Yeah.
love it for it to be £3 now. But anyway, you were saying you went over to Queens.
Yeah, I went over to Queens. Just came over to visit a buddy of mine there who's working and living in Queens. And yeah, within a week, I was bartending in a little pub in the Upper East Side here in Manhattan, and that was it. And I'd gone to drama school in Dublin, in Ireland, and in Cork as well.
Yeah.
So I'd kind of done the acting when I was younger back home, and it was something I'd been interested in. And then when I just arrived here, I just started working in a pub, and there was an upstairs in the pub. We started putting on plays and readings and stuff like that. And then I started auditioning a couple of theaters around the city, and just one thing leads to another, you know. the
That's
thing.
such a cool way to learn as well. I mean, from
Yeah.
as someone who's been to Cork many times, and I've only been to Manhattan once. Not exactly the same thing, is it? You know?
Not exactly, but they're both places filled with wonderful, brilliant people.
Yeah, of course. A lot of Irish over there
you know,
too.
There is,
Yeah.
and over in New York, especially, like, you know, it's there's a bit of a can-do kind of an attitude.
Yeah.
People are very supportive. So that was the other thing. Like when I started doing plays upstairs in the pub I used to work at there, like the locals here in New York, like they love it. They love anything that's kind of a little bit different. Anything that's a bit off the, like, you know, so that's kind of unusual. Yeah, they're very supportive. Like they're just great. And then when you end up getting cast in plays, whether it's in the basement of a little bar downtown the village or an off-Broadway theater, the people you meet here, they're all so supportive. Like they show up, they buy tickets. So it's kind of one of the reasons I fell in love with New York, you know.
Was that intimidating as an actor, as in learning how to act in a place that has just such a large scope of actors in general, as in so many amazing actors, the best in the world, you could say? And I mean, in terms of auditions, it's New York and LA over there, isn't it? That's like, you got to pick either or.
Yeah, it's one. Well, I mean, there's a lot going on in other parts of the country now as well. Like there's loads of stuff being shot down in Atlanta, and there's great hubs around the country. But specifically, like for theatre, New York is where you want to be. And as opposed to being intimidating, there's such a wonderful community here. You know, you end up becoming friends with lots and lots of other actors and people in the business. So it's actually very supportive, I found. And even like, you know, you could be going on auditions and not getting called. There's also a great community of people here who really want to roll their sleeves up and kind of self-produce.
Yeah.
And that's something that I kind of fell into doing because, you know, we had the space to do it in the pub, and, you know, you get to know other people then in theatres around New York, and people are very good about sharing their space with you. I'm very lucky. I've worked a lot at the Irish Repertory Theatre here in Manhattan, and like they're great. They're always doing readings. They're always, you know, there's always something going on. So yeah, it's that as opposed to being intimidating, I found it very supportive. I didn't really work full time as an actor in Ireland when I was younger. I was a student in college, which was great, up in Inchicore in Dublin, and at State Fonteno in Cork. And again, there was a great community there as well and support. But, you know, the fact that in a place like New York, there's always something going on. And of course, there's always theatre happening like every single night of the year. So inspiration isn't that far away, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it's a cool place to learn, you know. I mean, I couldn't imagine, as I meant with the intimidating, just being a young fella in Manhattan. So it's badass that you did that, you know. I mean, hearing your voice straight away hearing your voice, you know, I recognize it instantly from, obviously, Red Dead Redemption 2, Sean Maguire.
Right.
You don't have the same accent as Shawn, I noticed. You definitely put on something.
No, I don't.
Yeah. But I mean, it's amazing. It's amazing how a performance, and, you know, our viewers will know that Rockstar Games, it's not a voice acting gig. It's full on performance capture. I mean, every muscle of your body that you move is captured, put into that game. Same way, if anything, even more than acting in a live action movie, because it's like goes down to your hands moving, you know. And I'd imagine that getting that role, Red Dead, acting in that amazing sort of wacky motion capture environment, that must have been like theater to an extent too, right? Where you're with all these people and it's like, go.
Yeah, it was definitely, for me, the whole experience when it came to the performance capture was definitely much more closely aligned with theater than film or television. Everything from like the camaraderie of the cast, like you actually spent so much time with these people, you got to kind of know them, you became friends with them, you form relationship bonds. I still see quite a few of them on a regular basis. I hang out and have coffee with a couple of them when we're in town together, you know. We've been to a couple of Comic Cons together as well. We have a little group text chat that we have going on. We wish each other happy birthday.
Sorry to interrupt. So the Vanderlinde gang have a group chat.
Yes. Yeah.
So like, you guys going as your actual names, or for example, is Roger down as Arthur, is Benjamin down as Dutch?
No. We're all down as our own actual names. Yeah.
As a fan of that world, it's great that you guys are still so close. What's it like in these Comic Cons, seeing something you did now, you know, in the 2010s, obviously came out in 2018, being celebrated to such a, you know, gigantic extent? People are so passionate about that game. I love that game. I mean, it came out when I was 18. That fan base is incredible. How does that feel to you?
It's unbelievable. I mean, like I said, I work predominantly in theatre. I've gotten a nice couple of Easter eggs along the way in some TV shows over here and everything else, and short films and stuff. But I mean, Red Dead is, I mean, I didn't know what it was first day when I walked in, and they didn't tell me. I didn't have any idea of how big it was going to be. Obviously, working there, you kind of got the scope of Rockstar and their other titles like, you know, GTA and Bully, all these great kind of games from the past, the Warriors. And then, of course, I learned about Red Dead, the original one. So you knew it was going to be something big, but the fact that like 7 years later, I just was in Cork Comic Con there 2 weeks ago for the first time ever. The lads there from Dublin Comic Con held down in Cork at the Marina Market. And the amount of fans that came out to see Roger and myself was just blows us away. It blows me away. And so I'm deeply privileged to be, you know, a wee part of. And I also I just happen to love, I mean, I just love the fandom. Like, the fans make this what it is. They really do. They've made this big kind of, they made this cultural kind of phenomenon what it is. Like I said, I was privileged and very proud to work on it, but I'm just so privileged and proud just to see how it kind of reaches people, and also how so much of the fandom has gone off and just created for themselves. Like the amount of artists I meet who are inspired by the game, the amount of people who create their own blog, people who create their own podcasts. That's something that kind of touches me a lot. And I think that's the most important thing when it comes to art and any of the creative arts. The fact that we can share these really simply with each other, and it inspires, and it comes back. It inspires me when I see what people do with it all.
I think that's largely because your character as well of Shawn, every time he popped into a cutscene, you were a scene stealer. You're just like, who is this guy? Like, he was acting like he's the boss. He's coming in. He's telling Arthur what to do, Dutch what to do, Hosea what to do. It was just the funniest thing in the world, As someone from Ireland too, like I grew up on all the Rockstar games. I'm like, there's an Irish bloke in Red Dead Redemption. This is brilliant. I mean,
something I'm very proud of that, and I have to say, Rockstar were great about, allowing me to kind of create what I took from the page. It was great writing, of course, but they were very open and honest, like allowing me to kind of put my own little spin on things, and even the whole thing when it comes to the pronunciation of column, like
column.
That was actually a conversation that I came into it about maybe 2 or 3 years after they began working on it. And incidentally, Roger Clark used to work in a restaurant down the street from my bar, and he would come and do readings of plays at my bar. So we knew each other. We were kind of friendly with each other, and he'd auditioned for plays that I'd been involved with in the past. And then I remember asking one day, I says, what's the story? They can't pronounce column properly. And Roger B from Sligo was like, I know. He says, they won't listen to me. They don't want to listen to me. And I'm like, so we started kind of mentioning it. And then one night I got this script where it's myself and I think it was Kieran Duffy. Myself and Kieran Duffy's character, and I'm threatening to beat him up unless he pronounces column properly. So, so they were very good about listening to those kind of suggestions. And I think they really did. I think they realized how important it is, especially with such a diverse kind of group that the Van der Linde gang is. I think they went above and beyond to make sure that the different ethnicities and any suggestions like that were honored,
Yeah, I think that's great about the story too, because it's accurate to the characters. Like Dutch is not about in such a time in history when racism was huge and stuff like that. Dutch's character was very like, oh, well, it's none of that matters. We're wild. We're out here. None of that matters. We're a gang. We're a family. And yeah, it's great to see so many nationalities in that group. And if an Irishman was in a group, he would notice that they're pronouncing column incorrectly. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So when you first auditioned for the role, like my idea of Rockstar Games, it'd be the most secretive thing in the world to audition for. I mean, how long after when you started audition did you figure out it was Red Dead 2?
Well, I didn't really figure anything out. Also, my extent of gaming would go to I loved video gaming in the old days when I was growing up, like the Sega Mega Drive and Commodore 64 and all that. And I've had PlayStations along the way, but FIFA would be like top of it. Anything like Red Dead, I probably would have found too complicated. I remember picking up a copy of GTA 4, I think, and I couldn't get on the bloody bicycle. And then I gave up after a couple of days because I couldn't get off the bloody bicycle, Same with Assassin's Creed and games like that. So I didn't really understand the scope of it. I had obviously heard of Rockstar. And I got the call to go in for an audition. My agent called me up. They said, there's this role. We think you'd be perfect for it. I asked what the age was. Sean's a lot younger than I am. I was like, how the hell are you going to pull this off? And then I went and auditioned a couple of times, and then I just got the call again. Like, I was no better than anybody else. They certainly didn't tell me who the character was or where he was from. It was a very broad kind of an audition where it was like, all right, you're this Irish guy. And they kind of wanted to see if I could pull off that kind of fun element, like where he's busting people's chops, as they say over here. Bit of an old ball breaker, And I think that's the reason why they went with me. It wasn't because of my wonderful Shakespearean prose, It was just because I could give as good as I get,
Yeah.
That was it.
And what's that? Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, and then once we started working on it, after a while you put 2 and 2 together. But even then, they would be very, very. They didn't want people finding out certain things. They didn't want people to find out what the game, because that would essentially ruin it for millions and millions of people around the world. So, I would get my scripts maybe 24 to 48 hours in advance, and then you make sure you're off book, go in, perform. And of course, after a while, you started figuring out, okay, this is the Western themes. This is something that's Western themed, so we can put two and two together here,
What was the set like? I mean, I've spoken to your friends from the games and interviews. They've been gracious enough to come on, like yourself. And one thing I didn't understand fully is what the actual studio looks like when you're going in. Is there a bunch of cameras all over you at any time? I know you're in the mocap suit, but talk us through, what does it look like?
I mean, it's quite a large studio. It's like any kind of a studio you might imagine that they would have, like the old kind of sound stages that they used to make films on back in the old days in Hollywood and stuff like that. And as far as the cameras go, I'm still kind of shocked and in awe of how they did this. I believe they had maybe something like 80 cameras kind of situated all around this room.
80? Whoa.
I think so. I think that's the number I heard. I mean, again, I don't know. I would go in, and again, it was very much a theater thing where you're performing. In my mind, I'm performing in the round where, you can basically be viewed from anywhere in a room. So you're keeping that in the back of your mind, which again, that's some handy stuff that you learn in theater. And yeah, then there's just this whole space that's kind of marked out where some they would have kind of sets loosely built. And then you would basically just go and perform, and your movements would be picked up. Used to remind me of the old movie Tron, where you literally got rammed into the game, and so that was one of my favorite films growing up. But I used to think, this is really cool, man. It's like Tron,
So did that help you get through the the awkwardness of your acting? Say, for example, across from Alex McKenna, and she's in a mocap suit. Did that help you sort of imagine that she was Sadie Adler with the getup and all?
Yeah, like you said, I didn't have an idea what Shawn looked like, or any of these characters really look like, you know? And so it was, again, that's where it goes back to this theater where you kind of got to use that imagination. And it's funny because I have played the game a few times, and I will follow the other characters around just to hear their off scenes and cut scenes. And in my mind, I'm looking at them going, oh yeah, that's Alex, that's Roger, that's not Sheer. Yeah, how's it going, lads?
There's so much dialogue as well. I mean, you go up to any character. I noticed it's one of the only games where when you press the dialogue button when you walk past them, it's genuinely something new, like hours into playing the game. Do you know, like a usual video game where they say the same catchphrase over and over again? When you hear these phrases, for example, imagine Benjamin said something when you walk past him. Did you ever say when playing the game, think back, hold on a second, I remember that. I was there when they said that. Or is a lot of that just done in a booth?
I think what ends up happening with a lot of those kind of cut little kind of lines, you do end up doing quite a bit of that in the booth. For me, about 80% of it was motion captured, about 20% would have been in the booth. So what I would remember more of would have been the scenes that we kind of all done together, like the campfire scenes where we're having to sing song, the scenes where you're delivering a monologue about the first time I met Dutch and Hosea. I remember like a lot of the action sequences, the action scenes where you're robbing the train or setting fire to the tobacco fields, that kind of thing. So I would remember those scenes a lot. I also would have remembered, funny when I think back, and this is the thing as well with me, this is probably, it might be a personal thing or it might be something that happens to an awful lot of other actors. When you're in the moment and you're shooting a scene, very often it's hard for me to recall afterwards exactly what was going on in the scene. Yeah. Because you're thinking of so many other things, you're focusing on what it is. So very often when I think about, this is really weird, like when I think about my fortunate time working on the game, I often think about our lunch breaks where we'd sit around and have lunch together. And we'd all be sitting around.
Real life stuff, yeah.
Yeah, we'd all be sitting around with the dots on us. And, Ben, who plays Dutch, would be doing the New York Times crossword, and Nasir would be doing his thing, and Rob would be out the back kind of chilling out, and some of us would pair off and have conversations and chats. And the other lovely thing as well was, for me, I would probably get to do maybe 1 or 2 days a month. So it was kind of exciting where I kind of go back in and you're meeting all your friends again and catching up. I became a US citizen while we were making this game. So,
Oh wow.
again, like I said earlier, we still celebrate all our wins, we celebrate all our milestones, and we celebrate, we look out for each other when things aren't so good for folks as well. So that kind of started in the green room where we kind of got to know each other. And like, even there was occasions where quite a few of the gang members would come into my pub here in New York for a pint or two. We just hang out, so we couldn't tell anyone what was going on.
Wow, it's crazy because like to you guys, it's like a normal situation. Anyone. I've been a bartender too, many a time, and you get on with your friends so well and stuff. But you guys were doing that while not realizing that you were gonna be in this timeless thing forever. That people are, as I said to you, so passionate about. I am included. I've played the game, I think, 4 or 5 times, something like that. So I've probably like that's from beginning to end. So I've probably heard all of your lines of dialogue by this point.
You could probably repeat a lot of it back.
Yeah.
I get people asking me at Comic Cons, "Oh, can you just write down your favorite line?" And I'm like,
"How am I meant to remember?" Yeah,
I'm trying to remember, and then depending on the age of them, you got to be careful right now as well, because Shawn has a few funky ones,
Sorry for the interruption. If you're enjoying Love It Film, why not show your support by subscribing to the channel, clicking the bell notifications, giving this video you're watching right now a like, and leave a comment, good or bad. We can take the abuse. Help us grow so I can keep giving you these interviews. Interviews like stars of Red Dead Redemption 2, actors in movies, Dexter Resurrection, you name it. Do follow our socials on Instagram. It's all just at Love It Film. You find us very, very easily on Instagram, TikTok, and of course, if you're watching here on YouTube, we have it on YouTube. We have Spotify too, and Apple Podcasts. Now back to the interview. I mean, speaking of Shawn, the character, his character came to an end in, that mission in Rhodes, and it was, it was roughly around the middle of the game. And I remember at the time thinking, no, this guy was so funny. If Shawn survived to the end of the game, what do you think would have happened to his character in this hypothetical scenario?
People ask me that all the time.
Yeah.
I do think Shawn was definitely would have been Team Arthur.
Yeah.
I think Shawn had a sincere streak in him. I don't think Shawn was too I think Shawn, he talks about his politics a lot. He talks about integrity quite a bit. He talks about his dad, the lessons his dad taught him. And again, I think they kind of handled that in the writing in a very sensitive way, like considering the time it was, and Shawn being an Irish immigrant and the son of probably the son of an IRB member. I often think, my ideal scenario would Shawn would have survived, or Karen, they would have gone off to some small little town. They had their own manifest destiny. He probably would have ended up being the mayor of a little town, opened up a business, had a lot of kids, and quite possibly would have ended up, because I love my history, but quite possibly may have ended up with the O'Rahilly, who also spent a lot of time in the US and was married to an American woman. His wife was one of the founding members of Come On, Come On. Maybe Shawn would have ended up back in the GPO in 1916,
That'd be a cool ending. That really would be a cool ending.
It would be a great Red Dead Redemption 3, that's for sure.
Yeah. Oh, starring Shawn, that would be cool. I mean, as someone who likes history, was being in a game about the old West cool for you, just to see like, I see that's connecting there and there.
Yeah, it was great. And again, when we were shooting it, it was done out of sequence. So even though I knew what was going to happen to Shawn before I finished working on the game, and you just didn't know at what point in the story. And also, I didn't really have a great grasp of what the story was going to be about. I knew it was about this wonderful gang that were out there trying to forge their own path. But when you actually see the game, when they go into all the stuff with the suffragette movement and everything else, and how they treat, especially in this country, like the race issues that we're still dealing with over a bloody century and a half later almost. I think they handled that really well. And they didn't pull any punches either, like with a lot of the characters. It's a real work of art. It really is, and that's something that I'm very passionate about as well. Is kind of speaking to a lot of people about the cultural impact that gaming can have. I mean, gaming, this industry it's huge, and it has just as much of a footprint when it comes to sharing cultural stories as theater, literature, film, TV, or anything,
I mean, that's why people keep coming back. I mean, as I said to you, I've played, that's a long game, beginning to end, four times. It's kind of like watching your favorite movie over and over. If anything, it's more than that because you feel connected, you're invested, you're physically doing these missions, you know. And I think that's a bit
Absolutely.
of a disconnect with people too. They don't realize that something like Red Dead Redemption 2 is a brilliant Western, better than, 10 Western movies you can name off the top of your head, like that's why people come back, and it's because of your performance, it's because of everyone else's performance. It was so honest and heartfelt, and I'd imagine fulfilling as an actor. Like, I mean, theater work, it's very serious stuff, and then you're doing this, it's, a great character to have. How did that feel as an actor to get a character like Shawn?
Well, again, like Rockstar were very open with allowing me to kind of find Shawn, I suppose. The minute I started reading Shawn off the page, I was saying earlier, like, I was born in Dublin, I grew up in Cork, all my mother's family are Dubs, and I spent all my childhood going up to my grandmother up in Ballyfermot and working in pubs in Dublin and stuff, and, hanging out with all my mates up in Gortine Park, playing basketball with the lads and all that. And my mum has 6 brothers, and they were all Dublin lads, great crack, salt of the earth kind of lads, all St. Pat's fans and things like that. And of course, the minute I'd show up on the doorstep as a kid, I got it. It was like, Jesus, would you look here now? Look at your man here now, showing up with his becking redneck, culture down from Cork. So that was kind of like the ball breaking thing, that I was talking about earlier. That was the kind of first thing that jumped off the page for me. And then it just the rhythm and flow of that kind of like just all to the earth kind of proper Dublin lad, like, you know what I mean? That just kind of a little bit of the Mr. Brennan kind of thrown in there a little bit as well, that just kind of, all those kind of characters just kind of seemed to fit someone like Shawn. Like, I close my eyes, I think of these uncles of mine, I think of the likes of Ronnie Drew and like Mr. Brennan on the radio and Dustin the Turkey, you know what I mean? So,
as somebody from Tala, like, it's spot on. It's spot on.
Cheers, buds. You're all right, man.
Oh, it's unreal.
Yeah.
It's unreal.
But that used to happen to me as a kid. Like, when I was a kid, I'd go up to my grandmother's in like June or July when the school holidays start, and I'd show up and I'd be like, "Oh, how's it going? How are you, lads?" And I mean, the Cork accent was beaten out of me after like 24 hours.
Yeah.
And then I'd arrive back down to school in Cork like in September, getting ready for school, and everyone would be talking about where they went on their holidays. I was like, James, what you went up there with me nanny up there in Ballyfermot, you know what I mean? And within 24 hours, that was beating out of me as well. So
hard to get an accent though, like I was speaking to Roger as well, and he was saying similar with him, like he's from Sligo, but he was also all over the place in between, so you get kind of like a hybrid Irish accent.
You do, yeah. I mean, I guess it's hard for me because I'm talking to you, and I always kind of go back to my Irish accents when I'm chatting to folks from home. But I suppose I kind of tend to talk a little bit like this when I'm over here, a little bit more.
Just so people can understand, because we talk so fast, yeah.
Yeah. And then, but again, like, Jesus, I was home 2 weeks ago, and my wife is hilarious. She's always saying to me, like, the minute I get to Cork, it's like, oh, how's it going, way? Oh, yeah, what's the story? So I tend to be a little bit all over the place. I think I have a little ear for accent, so that kind of helps.
Yeah.
But yeah, once I decided on that with Shawn, Rockstar, like the director, everyone working there, they were all just, there was never any notes about that. I do remember there was the one scene where I'm in the wagon with Arthur hiding in the back, and we're going into, I think, the Greys or the Braithwaite, it's one of the matters, and I'm talking to this like fella who's from the deep south, and I'm telling him about how, it reminds me of my own home there, like the hills in Donegal. Going to the director, I says, Sean's not from Donegal.
No.
He's like, I don't think anyone's really gonna pay him, mate. I'm like, yeah, Shawn is just a plummaster. He's just goofing to get into this place. That's the story, and I'm sticking with it.
Yeah. I mean, I thought the same thing. I was like, Donegal, what's going on there? But like, your accents are unreal. I'd say that really helps with other roles coming in. I mean, what's the main difference with being I'd say there probably isn't many differences, a theatre actor and working in this performance capture environment? Does it feel different, or do you just do the same method for both types of mediums?
Well, the one big difference is, like, with this kind of thing, like I said, everything is out of sequence. When it comes to television, film, making a video game, it's out of sequence, so you're kind of relying on a lot of other people as well, like to put their work in to make the jigsaw whole thing. So that's one difference in the process. Like with theatre, you get your play from start to finish, you learn it, and generally speaking, you work on it from start to finish, and you focus on certain scenes. And the other great thing about theatre that I love is you are given that time to rehearse, and that's the beauty of it. You get to go into a room for weeks, and you get to work on it. Now, the motion capture, the longer you work in the game, like I spent about 3 years on it, the more confident you became in who the character was. So when you would get your script, you might have 2 or 3 lines, or you could have a page or two. And it's pretty easy enough to learn at least 2 or 3 pages over the course of 24, 48 hours. And you also became more confident about your place in the world, and you also knew the people you were working with. Like, anyone who was on that set were 100% professionals. So after a while, that kind of confidence kind of came. So that would be, there would be similarities and differences. But yeah, the nice thing in theatre is you do get that time to just focus and concentrate solely on the work for an extended period of time,
Is it nerve-wracking going out, say, for your first show when you're doing your, like, in theatre for the first time, your first night? Is that just, do you get these nerves before you go out? Because I definitely would. I'm not an actor, but I'd be shitting myself.
Honestly, no. There's always some sort of butterflies going on because, and it can depend as well. If you're working on a play that's well known, I've been fortunate to do a lot of new works and a lot of well-known classical plays. If you're going out doing a production of, say, The Shadow of a Gunman by Sean O'Casey or The Plough and the Stars, like, you already know that this play is a winner. You already know that, look, the material we're working with here, it's brilliant. People love it. Now, this production, people might have questions, but you don't know, but you can be pretty confident that that work is there. When you're working on a new play that people haven't seen before, sure, there's sometimes a little bit more nerves. I've been doing a play now for the last 7 years called The Smuggler. I just performed it in Ireland recently, did a tour, and that was a new play, and it's all about immigration and stuff like that over here. So a lot of the content kind of questionable, and you're asking a lot of the audience, asking a lot of questions. So those things do creep into your head. But no, I mean, when you're working with a great director and you've got great material and you've got a great team behind you, generally speaking, your job as an actor to go on stage and deliver what you've worked on, that you've got confidence in that. It's for me, it's the same as playing a sport, and you've worked on it for weeks and weeks, and you're confident in your ability to be able to do what you can do. You just don't know what the result's going to be, but that's kind of part of the fun of it as well,
Is there a dream role, and it doesn't have to be in theatre, it doesn't have to be in games, but just in general, that you would love to play?
People have asked me that a lot, and I don't know. I tend to fall in love with whoever I'm playing at the time. I tend to kind of find, and the Irish Rep did their production of The Dead in 1904 by James Joyce here at the American Irish Historical Society last Christmas. We ran it for like 6 or 7 weeks, and I was asked to play Mr. Brown, which was a role that in a million years I never would have expected anyone to ask me to play. And I took it on, and I fucking loved it. He's a character who he's an opera lover, and he fancies himself as a bit of an opera kind of impresario and a singer. So I got to kind of do all that and show off a little bit. But yeah, I mean, any roles at all that, anything that kind of speaks to me, anything that kind of challenges me to kind of look outside of what I normally do, there are things I look forward to. And there was one piece of advice that was given when I was a young actor by a wonderful Irish actor who sadly passed away a couple of years ago, Derek Chapman. He was a mentor of mine when I was growing up in Dublin. And he used to always say, it's not about the role, it's about you. And I say this to young actors all the time. You, the person performing the role, is far more important than the words on a page. This is your opportunity to do what you love, So yeah, any roles at all that come my way, there's none too big or small. I'm happy to pass myself into all of them.
Well said. It doesn't matter about what it is; it's about how you connect to it. I think for anyone starting out,
Yeah.
being an actor as well. I mean, that's really really good advice. Now, Mick, I understand I don't have you all day. I just want to end on a few questions here that I have to get out the standard. I know you're gonna hate me for this, but Red Dead Redemption
Not
3.
at all. Man. No,
Red
I
Dead
love
Redemption 3. Do you know anything?
I don't. I honestly don't. Hand on my heart. I
What
don't.
about the Shawn Easter Rising Red Dead 3? Is that happening?
Oh, that's going to be a play.
That'll be a
That's going
play.
to be.
Oh,
That's going to be a
I'll
musical.
be
I'm
front
going to
row.
write.
Front row.
No, at some point I'm going to write the musical. Yeah.
Oh, brilliant. Brilliant. And GTA 6, I mean, obviously you were not in a Grand Theft Auto game, but have you seen the trailer to that game? Just the advancement of what you guys did and seeing the motion capture and how it looks these days. Have you seen the trailer?
I've seen what anyone else has probably seen online, like the teasers they put out and all, and I mean it looks beautiful, it looks gorgeous.
Yeah.
But again, to me, I wouldn't be
a gamer.
Red Dead. I play Red Dead. I love it. I have a PS4 inside. I actually have an emulator on my little MacBook where I get to play NHL Hockey 94 and Mario and
that is cool.
F-Zero and all the old Nintendo and Sega games. But I wouldn't be following up on it as closely as a lot of other people. I'm excited to see it. I can't wait to see what it looks like. Can't wait to see it come out. I can't wait to see the excitement of it all. But I'm pretty sure people will be putting it down pretty quickly to go back and clean their horses and, do all some real work.
Yeah, man. I mean, to me, in terms of Rockstar stuff, not even just Rockstar, it's my favorite game of all time. I mean, what you guys did, I'm still in awe of it. I go back to it all the time. It's just so immersive, and that's down to what you did in the game, what all the other actors did. You just were fantastic in it. I mean,
that.
Of course, and other actors starting out who maybe want to get into theater acting, or maybe they want to do what you did in Red Dead and be a performance actor. Obviously, it's a very loaded question, but what advice would you have to someone who wants to do what you do?
Anybody at all who wants to pursue a career as an actor, as any kind of an artist, get out there and do it. I was home a few weeks ago back in Ireland, and a lot of people asked me this question. There is no shortage in Ireland of third level courses that are offering, theatre studies, performance art studies. There's no shortage of community theatres across Ireland. There's no shortage of things happening in your secondary school or your primary school. I mean, that's where I started. I started doing plays and musicals in my primary school, and I fell in love with it. The only certainty in general, but especially in the arts, is that if you don't do something, then nothing will happen. If you do, if you go for that audition, or learn that monologue and present it, or try to get involved in your local community theater or whatever is near you, then only good things can happen. Like, you might end up being the next Cillian Murphy, or you might just end up finding out things about yourself that you never knew, and you might end up having a wonderful career in some other aspect. But the bottom line is, if you do get involved in the art, no matter what it is, you can always use it in other areas of your life. You can always use it in other aspects of your life. It's a great it's a great experience to have.
Well said, and thanks for giving those people who want to do what you do just that little bit of a insight to how you go about it. Now, Mick, I can't thank you enough for your time today. You're an absolute gent for coming on, being so honest about life as an actor and, my favorite game of all time. And I got to say, like, all you guys from that game, I mean, I had the honor interviewing Roger Clark, Benjamin Byron Davis, Alex McKenna, and now yourself. And you guys are the nicest people I've ever interviewed. I mean, just so honest about what it's like working in what you guys did. So thanks for your time.
Well, it's my pleasure. And like I said, my biggest love is meeting people who love the game. And I appreciate the fandom. And a little sneaky thing, I pull it out all the time. I'll be in a conversation with people and I'll pull up, do you like gaming? And most of the time, a lot of people say, no, I'm not really a gamer. But every time I meet someone who's into gaming, I always make sure I let them know. And it's simply because I love seeing people's reaction to the game. And yeah, it's been a pleasure. And it's great chatting to you, man. And listen, next time I'm home, I'd love to meet up, maybe, have a coffee or a tea and chat more about the business. And I
definitely
can't wait to see where all your work is going as well, man. Really appreciate it.
Oh, Mick, thanks for that. Honestly, really does mean a lot. I have to bring over my brother now because he's on the camera here. His name is Carl. I'm sure he'd like to wave to you here. Carl, come on, pop over for a sec.
Carl.
He says, how are you, Carl?
Hey, Mick, how's it going?
How's it going, buddy? How are you?
He says, how are you doing?
Not too bad. My voice is gone, but not too bad.
He's in shock.
You're out drinking and singing last night, were you?
He said you were out drinking and singing, were you?
Oh, yeah.
Thanks for that.
Lovely to meet you, Carl, buddy.
Thanks for that, Mick. Anyway, thanks again. Appreciate it. And yeah, thanks for coming on.
My pleasure, brother. Listen, all the best with everything, and I can't wait to see the final result.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks so much, Mick. See you now.
All the best.
And if you want to see more Love It Film, where I'm talking to people who were in movies like Superman, stay tuned on Love It Film. So, I'm going to leave it back to you. See you later.